All right, welcome to another deep dive. This time we're going to be looking at habits, how we can change our behavior, and all that good stuff that helps us grow as people.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, we got a lot of requests from you guys to take a look at Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It is, so we're going to break it down for you guys.
Excellent.
Give you the most important and actionable ideas, and by the end of this deep dive, you'll understand how habits actually work.
Right.
The science behind it.
Yeah.
And you'll be ready to start building some really awesome habits in your own lives.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's most compelling about Atomic Habits is that it's not just theory.
Yeah.
It actually gives you a framework and a process for changing your habits,
Yeah.
not just understanding them.
Absolutely. And you know what really struck me was Clear's personal story?
Oh, for sure.
The guy walks the walk.
Yeah.
He had that horrific baseball injury back in high school, right?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I mean, ended up in a coma, had to relearn how to do, like, basic functions.
It's a really powerful example of how even the most dramatic transformations have to start with tiny little steps.
Yeah.
He couldn't even walk in a straight line at first.
Wow.
But by consistently practicing these really tiny habits, he was able to not only recover, but excel.
Mm-hmm.
Became an academic All-American.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Inspiring stuff.
That's where I think this idea of lagging measures comes in, right?
Yeah.
Like, we tend to focus on those big, obvious results, like losing weight or getting that promotion or finishing a big project. But those are just the outcomes of all these tiny habits that we've been building day after day.
Totally. And understanding that, I think, can be a real game changer for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Let's say your goal is to lose weight.
Okay.
That number on the scale, that's a lighting measure.
Right.
Instead of obsessing over that. Atomic Habits encourages us to focus on the daily habits that are going to contribute to that weight loss.
Gotcha.
Like, are you consistently making healthy food choices? Are you moving your body regularly? Are you getting enough sleep? Those are the things that are going to ultimately determine your success.
Right. So it's not about fixating on that outcome. It's about building the right systems.
Exactly.
Which reminds me of another concept from the book, this plateau of latent potential.
Yes.
I think we've all felt that.
Oh, yeah.
That frustration of working really hard but not seeing those results right away.
Oh, it's so common.
Yeah.
It's so discouraging. It's such a critical idea, and I think one that people just overlook all the time.
Yeah.
Imagine an ice cube, right?
Oh.
Slowly warming up.
Yeah.
It seems like nothing is happening at all until suddenly it hits 32 degrees and it starts to melt.
Yeah.
But all the heat that was applied beforehand was essential to reaching that tipping point.
That's a great analogy. It's so easy to just give up during that plateau phase.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
But understanding this idea can be so motivating.
Totally.
It's like, okay, maybe I'm not seeing these drastic changes yet.
Right.
But all this effort is building up to something big.
It reframes the way we think about progress.
Totally.
And emphasizes that consistency, even in the face of these seemingly insignificant results.
Right.
That's what leads to the breakthrough.
You just got to keep going.
You got it.
So instead of getting discouraged, we should actually see that plateau as a sign that we're on the right track.
For sure.
We just need to keep going.
Absolutely.
Which leads to another point that I thought was really cool.
Okay.
This idea of focusing on systems instead of goals.
Yes. This is one of the core principles of Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
It's not about setting a goal. It's about becoming the kind of person who achieves that goal.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
So, if you want to write a book,
Okay.
don't just focus on finishing the manuscript.
Right.
Focus on becoming a writer. Someone who shows up every day.
Yeah.
And writes consistently.
Exactly. Regardless of the results or the validation.
Yeah.
And that's how you create lasting change.
Absolutely.
It's about aligning your actions with your desired identity.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So how do we put this into practice?
Right.
Where do we even begin to shift our mindset and start building these identity-based habits?
Well, Clear provides a ton of practical strategies in the book.
Okay.
But one of the most fundamental is just increasing awareness of our current habits.
Okay.
He introduces this thing called the habit scorecard,
Right.
which is really just a simple tool for taking inventory of your daily actions.
Okay.
And it's not about judging yourself.
Right.
It's just about getting a really clear picture of what you're actually doing each day.
Okay, so just lay it all out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just write down all your daily habits, from brushing your teeth
Mm-hmm.
to checking social media.
Yeah.
And then you categorize them
Oh, wait.
as positive, negative, or neutral.
Gotcha.
And this helps you pinpoint which habits are actually serving you and
Yeah.
which ones might be holding you back
Okay.
from becoming the person you want to be.
Sounds really eye-opening.
It can be, for sure.
So once we have that awareness, how do we start making changes?
Yeah.
How do we make good habits easier and bad habits harder?
Right. Well, one of the simplest but most effective techniques is called habit stacking.
Okay.
And it's essentially anchoring a new habit to an existing one.
Okay.
So, for example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 5 minutes.
Gotcha.
Or after I brush my teeth, I will write in my journal for 10 minutes.
So instead of trying to create a whole new routine, you're just kind of adding on.
Exactly. Yeah, you're leveraging the power of your existing habits
Yeah.
to make the new ones stick.
I like that.
Yeah, and then to really solidify that new habit.
Okay.
Clear recommends using something called implementation intentions.
What's that?
It's where you state your intention to perform a specific habit at a specific time and place.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I'm going to exercise more,
Yeah.
you would say, I will go for a 30-minute run at 6 p.m. in the park.
Oh, so you're taking out all the ambiguity.
Exactly. It makes it much more obvious and easier to actually initiate.
Like it's a commitment.
It is, yeah.
That's great.
And this ties into, the first law of behavior change, which is make it obvious.
Okay.
But there's another aspect to this that I think is really fascinating.
What's that?
The environment.
Okay.
Krrish argues that our surroundings have a huge impact on our behavior,
Yeah.
whether we're conscious of it or not.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and he uses that great example in the book, the safeguard soap study in Pakistan.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Just by making hand washing more enjoyable and convenient, they were able to dramatically reduce the spread of disease.
It's amazing how powerful just tweaking our environment can be
It is.
instead of just relying on willpower,
Absolutely, yeah. You create an environment that actually supports the habits you're trying to build.
Yeah, so like if I want to read more, I need to
Okay.
make sure there's a book on my bedside table.
Exactly.
Or if I'm trying to eat healthier, I need to, get rid of all the junk food and make sure my fridge is stocked with fruits and veggies.
It's about making the cues for good habits really obvious and easy to act on.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we often think about habits as this internal battle, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's all about willpower.
Right.
But we really underestimate how much our surroundings shape our choices.
Absolutely. And this is where Atomic Habits, I think, goes a step further.
Yeah.
It's not just about individual willpower.
Okay.
It's about understanding this interplay
Yeah.
between our internal motivations and
Okay.
all these external forces that
Totally.
are shaping our behavior all the time.
This has been really insightful so far.
I'm glad.
We've talked about cue, craving, response. So those first 3 stages of the habit loop.
Yeah.
But what about that final stage, the reward?
Yes.
How does that tie into all of this?
Well, that's where we get into the fascinating world of dopamine
Okay.
and how our brains are wired to prioritize those immediate rewards over the delayed ones.
Interesting.
An evolutionary leftover from our hunter-gatherer days.
We'll have to dive into that more when we come back.
Sounds good. So before the break, we were talking about how our brains, thanks to evolution, are wired for that immediate gratification.
Right. Worked great for survival out on the savannah, but
Right.
not so much in our modern world.
Not so much.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, explains why it's so easy to reach for that sugary snack or,
Oh, yeah.
hit that snooze button, even though we know.
Every time.
Yeah, logically.
Logically, yeah, it's not the best choice.
Exactly. So how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah. How do we do it?
How do we make those habits that support our future selves
Right.
more appealing now?
Right.
Krrish suggests a technique called temptation bundling.
Okay.
Essentially, you link an activity you want to do
Okay.
with one you need to do.
I love that.
Yeah,
So, like, only watching your favorite show while you're on the treadmill,
there you go.
or listening to a really fascinating audiobook while you're doing chores.
That's it. Yeah, you're tricking your brain into associating something potentially boring or challenging with something enjoyable.
Yeah, that's great.
And this is where understanding dopamine comes in.
Okay.
It's that neurochemical associated with pleasure and reward.
Right.
So by bundling a pleasurable activity with a necessary one,
Yeah.
you're essentially tapping into that dopamine system and making that need activity more appealing.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a cool technique.
But what about those times when even temptation bundling isn't enough?
Right.
We all have those moments where our motivation dips,
Of course.
and even those carefully planned habits fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
So how do we stay consistent, especially during those tough times?
Well, Clear is a big advocate for habit tracking.
Right.
It might seem simple,
Yeah.
but it's incredibly effective.
I've tried that before, but I always, lose steam after a few weeks.
Yeah, that's common.
What's the key to making it stick?
Well, I think it's helpful to think about the multiple ways that habit tracking can work.
Okay.
First, it's a visual reminder of your progress.
Right.
It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see immediate results.
Yeah.
But a habit tracker shows you all those little wins you might otherwise overlook.
So it's not just about the big picture. It's about acknowledging those daily efforts.
Yeah, and seeing those little victories can give you a sense of momentum.
Yeah.
Which is so motivating.
For sure.
But habit tracking goes beyond just recording your progress.
Okay.
It can actually become a motivator in itself.
How so?
Well, imagine you've been consistently hitting the gym, let's say for a month.
Okay.
You're starting to see a nice streak on your habit tracker.
I like streaks.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you really going to break that streak just because you're feeling a little lazy today?
Probably not.
Probably not. You're accountable to the tracker itself.
Yeah, I don't want to, disappoint it.
Exactly. It's my friend now.
And there's a sense of satisfaction that comes from maintaining that streak.
Yeah.
From visually seeing your consistency.
It's almost like a game then.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah, like a challenge to yourself to keep that going.
Exactly. And you're training yourself to associate those positive feelings of accomplishment with the act of tracking itself.
That's really cool.
And over time, those feelings become intrinsically rewarding.
Oh, so it's not even about the reward at the end. It's like the process itself becomes the reward.
Exactly. It taps into our natural desire for order and progress.
That makes a lot of sense.
But it's important to remember that habits don't exist in a vacuum.
Right.
We've talked about this idea of systems, right?
Yeah.
Our habits are the building blocks of larger systems that are supporting our goals.
Totally. So if your goal is to write a novel,
Okay.
tracking your daily word count is a great habit.
But it's even more powerful when it's part of a bigger system that's actually designed to support your writing.
Exactly. So that might include having a dedicated writing space.
Yeah.
Setting aside specific writing time each day.
Right.
Maybe even joining a writing group.
Oh, yeah, for accountability.
Accountability and support.
Yeah.
It's about creating an environment and a structure that make it easier to stick to your habits.
Makes sense.
And ultimately achieve your goals.
Absolutely. But it's not just the physical environment, though, right? It's the social environment, too.
It is. Yeah, we've already touched on the idea of accountability partners.
Yeah.
But the power of our social circles goes way beyond that.
Okay.
It's about surrounding yourself with people who inspire you.
Yeah.
Who model the habits you want to cultivate.
It's like that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Exactly. If you want to be healthier, spend time with people who prioritize their health.
Right.
If you want to be more creative, surround yourself with creative people.
It's true.
It's about creating a social ecosystem that supports your growth.
Love that.
And it's not just about who you surround yourself with.
Okay.
It's also about the stories you tell yourself.
Oh, this is where mindset comes in.
Exactly.
The beliefs and attitudes we hold about ourselves and the world around us.
Our mindset can either support or sabotage our efforts.
Oh, yeah.
To build better habits.
Absolutely.
If you believe you're just not a morning person,
you're
probably not going to be very successful at creating a morning routine.
It's true. If you think you can't do it,
right,
you won't be able to do it.
But if you shift your belief and start telling yourself, I can become a morning person, you're much more likely to make it happen.
That's the power of mindset right there.
It is.
So it's not just about changing our habits. It's about
changing our beliefs.
Yeah.
About those habits, and that's where the real magic happens.
That's so...
When our actions are aligned with our beliefs, we create this really powerful feedback loop.
Yeah.
That propels us toward our goals.
I love it.
But it's not just about positive thinking.
What else is there?
It's also about having a realistic understanding of the challenges we're going to face along the way.
It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows.
Exactly. There will be days when you don't feel like showing up.
Of course.
When you'd rather hit the snooze button than go for that run.
Oh, yeah.
When you'd rather scroll through social media than work on that project.
It happens.
So how do we push through those moments of resistance?
Well, that's the million-dollar question right there.
It is a big one. So Clear emphasizes that setbacks are inevitable.
Okay.
It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about having systems in place to help you bounce back.
So what does that look like? What kind of systems?
Well, first, reframe those setbacks.
Okay.
Don't beat yourself up if you miss a workout or indulge in a treat.
Right.
It happens.
Yeah.
Just get back on track as soon as possible.
I like that no 0 days approach.
Exactly. Even a small step in the right direction is better than doing nothing at all.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's helpful to anticipate challenges.
Okay.
If you know you tend to overeat at social gatherings,
Yeah.
come up with a plan beforehand.
Okay.
Maybe eat a healthy snack before you go.
Right.
Or focus on conversations instead of the buffet table.
So being proactive, not reactive.
Right. Having those strategies in place before temptation strikes.
That's great advice.
And don't underestimate the power of your support system.
Oh, yeah.
Friends, family, mentors, online communities.
Right.
Having people to cheer you on and hold you accountable can make a huge difference.
We don't have to do this alone.
We don't, and perhaps most importantly,
Okay.
learn to be your own best cheerleader.
Yes.
Practice self-compassion.
Right.
Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend who is struggling.
Love that.
Celebrate your successes,
Right.
no matter how small.
Yeah. All wins are wins.
Building better habits is a journey, not a destination.
So true.
There will be bumps along the way,
Of course.
but the key is to keep moving forward.
Yeah, just keep going.
And that's where I think Clear's final piece of advice really comes in.
Okay.
To fall in love with the process itself.
I like that.
To find joy in the daily pursuit of becoming a better version of yourself.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We talked about the importance of systems, the power of our environment, and how to harness the power of mindset.
For sure.
But there's one piece of the puzzle we haven't really explored yet,
Okay.
and that's the role of emotions. How do our feelings influence our habits?
Yeah.
And how can we actually use those emotions to our advantage?
Great questions.
We'll dive into that when we come back.
Sounds good.
We're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into atomic habits.
I'm excited to tie it all together.
Me too. You know, before the break, we were talking about this idea that emotions play a much bigger role in our habits than we think.
Yeah, I think we often think of emotions as these disruptive forces
Right.
that kind of lead us astray from our good intentions.
Yeah, like they get in the way.
But they're actually deeply intertwined with our habits.
Okay.
They're not separate from the process. They're actually woven into every stage
Interesting.
of that habit loop.
So how does that actually work? Help me connect the dots.
Sure, so think back to that habit loop.
Okay.
Cue, craving, response, reward.
Right.
Each step has an emotional component to it.
Okay.
So let's say your cue is coming home after a really stressful day
Okay, I've been there.
and walking into the kitchen.
Yep.
The craving that hits you, it's not just a neutral thought, I'm hungry.
Right.
It's usually tied to an emotion.
Okay.
Stress, maybe loneliness.
Yeah, or just exhaustion.
Exhaustion, yeah, just wanting to unwind.
Exactly.
So that feeling then dictates what you end up craving.
Okay.
Whether it's a healthy snack or that bag of chips you've been trying to avoid.
Right. You're not going to go for the carrots when you're stressed out.
Probably not. And then the reward itself
Yeah.
triggers another wave of emotions.
All right.
Relief, satisfaction, maybe even guilt or shame if it's a habit you're trying to break.
Right.
And then those feelings then influence whether you'll repeat that habit again in the future.
Wow. It's like this whole emotional roller coaster.
It is. It's a loop within a loop. So it's not just about understanding those mechanics
Yeah.
of the habit loop.
Right.
It's about recognizing those emotional undercurrents
Totally.
that are actually driving our actions.
That makes a lot of sense.
Clear talks about our modern world as a delayed return environment.
Okay.
You know, we work hard now for rewards that might come weeks, months, even years down the line.
Right. That's a long time.
It is. But our brains,
Yeah.
shaped by evolution,
Right.
are wired for these immediate return environments.
Because our ancestors needed that. Right.
Like?
They needed to find food. They needed shelter. They needed to be safe.
It was all about instant gratification.
Right. Like right now, or you're in trouble.
Exactly. So we're essentially fighting against our own wiring
Oh, wow.
when we're trying to build habits that support those long-term goals.
Yeah. Like saving for retirement or sticking to that workout routine.
Exactly. Those things that are going to pay off big time down the road, but don't feel as urgent right now.
Right. So how do we bridge that gap then?
Well, we've talked about temptation bundling, linking a want to a need.
Right.
But another powerful approach is to focus on the intrinsic rewards of those good habits.
Okay.
It's not about the external validation or the material gains.
Right.
It's about the positive feelings that come from the activity itself.
So not like the medal you get for finishing a marathon,
Right.
but like the runner's high you get while you're running.
Exactly. Or not the paycheck at the end of the month, but the sense of accomplishment from tackling that challenging project.
I like that.
Those feelings are real.
Yeah.
And they're powerful.
So how do we tap into those?
Start paying attention to them. Notice how you feel during the activity.
Okay.
Not just focusing on the outcome.
Gotcha.
Savor that boost of energy after a workout.
Right.
The calm focus you have after meditating.
Mm-hmm.
The pride of creating something new.
Yeah, like really be in the moment.
Exactly. You're training your brain to associate those good feelings with the habit itself.
Oh, okay.
So it becomes less about willpower and more about genuinely enjoying the process.
I love that. But, let's be real.
Sure.
There are going to be times,
Of course.
when we just hit a slump.
It happens.
Motivation dips, life throws some curveballs at us,
Yeah.
and those good habits start to feel like a chore.
Yeah. It's inevitable.
So what do we do then?
Well, Clear really emphasizes this idea that setbacks are inevitable.
Okay.
It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about having systems in place
Yeah.
to help you bounce back.
So what does that look like in practice?
Well, first, reframe those setbacks.
Oh.
Don't beat yourself up if you miss a workout or indulge in a treat or two.
Right. We're all human.
Exactly.
Fair.
It happens. We're not going for perfection here. Just get back on track as soon as possible.
I like that no 0 days approach.
Exactly. Even a small step in the right direction is better than doing nothing at all.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
And it's helpful to anticipate challenges.
Okay.
If you know you tend to overeat at social gatherings, come up with a plan beforehand.
All right, have a strategy.
Maybe eat a healthy snack before you go.
Right.
Or focus on the conversations instead of the buffet table.
Be proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. Having those strategies in place before temptation strikes.
I like that.
And don't underestimate the power of your support system.
Oh, yeah, those people around us.
Friends, family, mentors, online communities, having people to cheer you on
Right, we need that.
and hold you accountable can make a huge difference.
It really does. It's that reminder that we don't have to do this alone.
We don't. And perhaps most importantly, learn to be your own best cheerleader.
Ooh, I like that.
Practice self-compassion.
Yeah.
Talk to yourself the way you'd talk to a friend who is struggling.
That's such good advice.
And celebrate your successes no matter how small they are.
All those little wins add up.
They do. Building better habits is a journey, not a destination.
So true.
There will be bumps along the way, but the key is to just keep moving forward.
Just got to keep going.
Keep going, and that's where I think Clear's final piece of advice really comes in.
Okay, what's that?
To fall in love with the process itself.
Ooh, that's good.
To find joy in the daily pursuit of becoming a better version of yourself.
I love that.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah, this has been great.
what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with?
Well, I hope they don't just consume this information,
Right.
Like, I hope they actually put it into action.
I agree.
Pick one habit you want to build or break and apply just one technique. Start small, be consistent, and remember those tiny changes over time can lead to remarkable results.
Absolute.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into atomic habits.
It's been fun.
We'll catch you guys next time.